And Crossover Thursdays presented by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl and use code all lowercase locked on NFL to win $50 instantly when you play five. Again, you don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, so Cody, I'll go ahead and roll out the red carpet here. What are the three most important keys that are going to lead to a Houston Texans victory?
I'm going to start with the most important one that I just finished talking about, the offensive line, keeping the pocket clean and creating gaps for the Houston Texans offense to execute. And talk about the Houston Texans offense to execute. You're looking at C.J. Stroud. You already talked about how questionable the Colts secondary is. So, I think this is a game where C.J. Stroud should just air it out, especially considering that you got not one, not two, but three wide receivers who could be quote unquote wide receiver, one. So I think this is definitely a game where you could just let CJ just go to work. I'm going to love it, I must say. And then, of course, last but not least, but, containing Jonathan Taylor, that's always been the key for the Houston Texans, where it don't matter if they're rebuilding, fighting for a playoff spot, or contending for a championship. They could never figure that key out. So, of course, that key still got to stand. Stop Jonathan Taylor at all costs.
I like it. All right, so for the Colts, first on offense, I'm going to say they got to cash in the red zone, because I mentioned Josh Downs probably not going to play in this one. One that's perhaps even more consequential is their kicker, Matt Gay, is probably not going to play in this one either. Neither player has practiced all week. So kicker, whether we like it or not, it's very important. So if Matt Gay isn't out there kicking, even if he is out there kicking, he just had a hernia procedure. So that's not great. If he doesn't go out there, they have a rookie undrafted free agent in Spencer Schrader kicking. So their kicking game is going to be shaky at best, I would say. So when you're in the red zone, you got to turn those into sixes instead of threes. Ball security for the offense as well, and that goes towards communication too. So Anthony has a bit of a tendency to know that he's the best athlete on the field, and sometimes that can get him in trouble, especially if you've got a pass rusher breathing down his neck. If he's not holding onto the ball properly, he will fumble it. He has fumbled before last year. He's fumbled in the preseason. He's got to take care of the ball, because, you can't have a 360-degree vision around your head. So just make sure that the ball is fine. But also in terms of communication as well. You mentioned that preseason Bengals game, it didn't look good. But in context, a lot of that was communication between him and the receivers. The pick six, the tight end was supposed to be further inside. Anthony threw it where it was supposed to be, but the tight end wasn't there. We saw that led to a pick six. Immediately 6 points for the other team. That can't happen. There was another crucial third down where he threw over the middle of the field, but it was way in front of A.D. Mitchell. Now, Mitchell, when he came out of his break, there was the defense had a coverage he didn't recognize back there, or he wasn't expecting. So it caused him to kind of hitch and hiccup a little bit coming out of his break. That kind of stuff, you just got to keep running through it, because Anthony, again, threw it right where it was. So that kind of stuff, they got lucky with an errant throw over the middle of the field that wasn't intercepted. So that stuff has got to get cleaned up. And then defensively, the secondary already, as is, I mentioned, it's going to be a little worrisome. Just be where you need to be. Because we saw a couple of examples in that Week 18 win for the Texans that gave them the AFC South. Obviously, that C.J. Stroud to Nico Collins bomb on the first play of the game. There was supposed to be safety help over the top, but there was no communication there, so the safety was not there. It left the corner on an island with Collins, and that was never supposed to happen. We saw it was a touchdown. And then there was a touchdown to the fullback there, like near the goal line, where there's a breakdown in communication again between the safety and the cornerbacks. Nobody was right there to pick up that fullback, and he was alone in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. If you're just where you're supposed to, like, this game's already hard enough against a quarterback like C.J. Stroud. If you just be where you're supposed to be and don't blow the coverages and everything, your life is probably not going to be as difficult. So to me, a lot of it is mental, and then also execution in the red zone on offense for me. So with all that said, do you have a score prediction for us, Cody?
Yeah, I got a score prediction. I
Let's
think
hear
it's
it.
still, like normal. It's going to be close, but I got the Houston Texans winning game one, 21-17.
Okay. So this is a game that could have a lot of offensive fireworks, but it sounds like you think the defenses might step up a little bit.
Yeah, the defense, I can see them stepping up, but again, it's week one. A lot of quote unquote new faces, with the Houston Texans. I know with you guys, a lot of guys coming back from injury, i.e., the most important one, Anthony Richardson. And I think that's where we're probably going to see like a couple head scratches. And like you mentioned, if anything, it's probably just going to be more so communication type stuff. And week one games sort of, go down that kind of rabbit hole. Now, once again, I think the Houston Texans defense will have an opportunity to hold their own, especially the defensive line in terms of, especially the front seven actually in terms of, trying to contain Jonathan Taylor. But overall, I think it's still going to be a close game because I think it's safe to say that this could be a rivalry, not just CJ and Richardson, but this could be a rivalry between these two franchises that might last a minute. And even though they never liked each other before, I think all the trash talk throughout the offseason rubs some players the wrong way in the Colts locker room. And I think, they're going to come in with an extra chip on their shoulder.
I do think they would like to win. I think this will be a close one as well, but I'm a little more confident in the offenses right now. Both sides have quite a few weapons. I think that'll be tough for Houston to defend. And then obviously I think it's going to be tough for the Colts to defend as well. Houston just has so many weapons. I do have the Texans winning this one, 30-27. Again, a really close one. I mentioned the kicker battle. That's a 3-point game. It could be as simple as a missed field goal somewhere throughout the game. But in general, for the Colts, let's just be optimistic and say that their secondary gets it together at some point in the year. I don't know if week one is going to be the time that it happens. So I think the secondary might need a few weeks to gel together. And then will the kicking woes raise their head in this one? Because, even with Matt Gay out there, he has been in a little bit of a slump dating back to late last season. So the Colts, their secondary is very questionable. We have to see them have success before we believe it's going to happen. And then their kicking game has been kind of a very iffy situation, again, dating back to late last season. So one thing I do know, it's going to be an entertaining battle. I think we're all looking forward to the Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud rivalry going on. I know they're friends and they're not on the same field at the same time, but it's going to be really exciting. That's two young star quarterbacks. We already know CJ Stroud is that dude. He just won Rookie of the Year. Anthony Richardson looked, explosive at times in his 4-game sample size last year. But this does have the makings to be one of the most entertaining rivalries in the NFL.